Coming up, we're diving into the inbox.
You're listening to Double Tap, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Shaun Priest.
Hey guys, welcome along to another episode of Double Tap. We're here for another day, Shaun Priest. It's a day to dive into the inbox. Whee!
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else then. Wow, okay. Sorry, I wasn't with you. We indeed, Stephen Scott. Feedback. We love your feedback. Please keep it coming. Feedback at doubletaponair.com.
Hang on, what did you think I was going to say?
It's a good day to die or something. I don't know.
Good day to die?
Isn't that Die Hard or James Bond? I don't know. Sorry, that's a real downer. It's great to be here.
Wow.
Can I just say, I hate lawnmowers. Thank you.
Actually, no, can I say I agree with you?
Yes, I know you do.
I stand by that position.
I was not just lawnmowers, by the way, all
the
gardening.
people attached to them.
Yes, gardeners, gardening appliances, builders with those steel saws or whatever it is for cutting stones and slabs and things. How often are you trying to cross a road and that's going on and you think, right, perhaps they'll see me in a minute and they'll turn it off out of politeness?
Nope.
Never happens. You just got, right, I'm going for it. I've been here for 25 minutes now. Just turn it off for a second. Unbelievable. Thank you.
No, you're right. Happened to be just the other day. I was crossing the road and, wind is my nemesis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now I've realised I can add lawnmowers to that because it was exactly the same thing. I was about to cross the road and someone is lawnmowering their grass. I felt it was a bit rude, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it makes it difficult for me. And as we all know, it's all about me.
It's all about me.
Stop cutting your grass.
Is this what they're trying to say with this social model of disability, that everyone else is at fault? I agree. I'm with that viewpoint now.
If everyone just 100%. Stood still when I was passing them, it'd be great. Thank you.
Just be like, imagine you're in a library where you see a blind person. Just, everyone be quiet. Everyone be quiet. Because it's not, honestly, I crossed that road and I'm thinking, I actually crossed the road kind of like, oh God, please don't kill me, anybody.
I know, what do you do?
I had no idea. No idea if cars were coming or not.
What do? You wait for someone?
I've found it really strange where I live. People don't tend to bother. People walk by me and they never say, oh, the road's clear. And I remember when I lived in the city, I used to get, and I do, when I'm in the city, people are always coming up, like, hey, can I help? Or,
the city's great.
Clearly where I live is a terrible place.
I walked into a builder's skip the other day.
Yes.
And that is another nemesis of mine. I'm putting that on the list as well. When I'm in power, when I've got the power, they're going to be banned. Because builder's skips, right, they're like an upside down triangle. So the top of them protrudes out. So by the time your sticks hit the bottom, you've been cut in half. So that's awful. I hate them. I had someone stop in their car as they were passing and say, there's nothing in front of you the other day. What am I meant to do with that? Tell me if there's something in front of me. Don't stop your car, shout out, and I've got to stop and say, sorry? And they say, there's no obstacles in front of you, and then carry on. Thanks. That's really helpful. Oh, God, I'm grumpy today.
Wow. I've got to say, you do get a lot of weird comments, don't you? Yeah, especially with cars. Well, with cars especially. My favourite is when they just stop. And you think, okay, are you letting me cross the road?
Are you dropping off a parcel? Are you
waiting
on your
for
phone?
Someone? Are you doing something? Because my fear is if I go and they've decided, or they look up from their phone and just hit the accelerator and then suddenly I'm toast. Mm-hmm. That's not great.
Could just eat some toast.
Oh, I like toast. There you go. We found something we like.
There we go.
There you go. We went from lawnmowers and people attached to them are terrible to builder skips to a beautiful slice of toast. There you go.
Anyway, feedback, huh? Xylophone. It's a xylophone.
We get your email.
Not a piano. Bing bong.
Here's your mail today.
Yeah, nothing's working around here today. I don't know what's going on.
Why? What's the
There
matter?
you go. I couldn't get that music to go away, but now I can. See, I've got it.
Okay, that's good.
It's very annoying when that does that. I don't know why it does that. And the problem is that I have to do this fill thing every single time because I can't get rid of the music.
We've only been doing it for about 25 years,
I know.
Stephen Scott.
I've never worked this
We'll
out.
figure it out.
You see, this is why you know it's live, because I'm filling right now, so that music will stop, and then I can actually bring in the emails. There you go. That's how it works around here.
Well done.
Shall we start with Stan?
Yes.
Greetings, Stephen. Greetings, Shaun. This is Stan. I wanted to provide a little bit of information for you in case you did not know. As of today, which is Thursday, there is a update for the Meta Ray-Ban glasses. So I thought you might be interested in that. And of course, installing the update takes a while because it wants to tell you what is new and all this kind of stuff. And it takes you a while to even, for me anyway, to find the update now or whatever it says button. And then it takes a while. And with Shaun and his dog issues, well, what I could just say is dog for sale, and of course then you could have that old song that says, how much is that doggy in the window? Something to think about. Anyway, take care and have a great day. Bye.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Stan. Was I selling my dog on here?
I think you must have been,
I
clearly.
must have been.
Now you have to.
Yeah, please don't. My dog is not for sale. Now, which Meta Ray-Ban update was that referring to? The latest one, of course, is 16. I've seen lots of posts on social media saying, I'm not having this, I haven't seen this yet, and what's going on, where is it? As ever with Meta, who knows? It's just sort of a slow rollout. You'll get it when you get it. If you're in the UK or outside of the US, I would say, then I don't think there's a lot there. All the things it says, hey, you've now got this. You read the actual print and it says US only.
Yeah.
So, yes, you will get new sounds, a new camera sound, a new startup sound in the 16.0 update.
I like that.
Which is nice, but
I think it's much better, actually. It's not as harsh, especially the Bluetooth connection sound. It used to be like, and I was like, oh, it's connected.
Right.
Now it's more like,
it's very
that's nice.
mellow. It's nice.
Mellow. It's nice. It's like
Yes.
connected.
Look out for it. It will be there. Automatic updates is on by default, I believe. So you'll all get it eventually. So don't panic.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing the difference. I'm on the group AI for the Blind, which I know you're on as well, on Facebook, and I see a lot of people saying, in the US, people are, I'd say mostly excited by the features. Maybe not glowing about it, but they do realize that there are better AIs out there at the minute. Meta AI is not the best, but it's improving day by day, I suppose. We don't really get the chance to really dig into that too much over here. And so when you talk or you listen to people outside of the US and Canada, it's a very different experience, mostly saying, why do I have these things? What's the point of this? And
Because
I think,
of Be My Eyes and video calls.
Well,
that
that's
is
right,
it.
yeah.
That is
I
great.
will say, though, look, let's be honest. When Google come out with whatever they come out with, and it's going to be something this year, we'll see something this year.
This year?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've kind of said that already. They've said it's going to be later
from
this year.
Samsung, we think, will be the first headset using that. I don't know.
This XR headset's coming out, which is more like the Vision Pro, that VR style headset. But I think there's also there is rumor of the glasses coming out. Who the partner will be, I don't know if it'll be Google, not Google, Samsung right away. It might be. We'll see. But whenever that drops, I think that is going to be interesting because Google tend to roll things out more internationally, not entirely. Not every country is always covered by this. I realize that. But you will probably see more likelihood of the feature set dropping across most of, say, the US, Canada, the UK.
That's a bold claim, Stephen
I think
Scott.
it's more likely than Meta because we know Meta's form here.
Yeah, but it's all legislation when it comes to AI because we're dealing with images and cameras and videos. The privacy laws in different parts of the world are completely different. So I think their hands
the EU
are
is a good
tied.
example of that, right?
The EU is a great example.
Different ball game entirely. Okay, thank you, Stan. I appreciate that. Let's move on to. Now, I apologize if this is wrong, but I am going to say this anyway because that's what it says here. This is Joker Alice. Now, it could be Alice Joker, or it could just be Joker, or it could just be Alice. Either way, hi.
Hello, Double Tap. It's my first time leaving you guys feedback. I was listening to the last episode and loved it. Very valid concerns were brought up, and I agree with those concerns, as there is still technology where accessibility isn't even thought of at all. We then have to either find workarounds or hope that with enough feedback, a change will happen. I think activists and those who are quick to scream lawsuits get so wrapped up in their cause that they forget how to have productive but polite conversations. I believe the community should take a step back and remember how quickly many developers who were considering making games more accessible for the blind decided to simply unplug the cord and stop making them for iOS in general, or simply move on to other things. This happened because when they were simply looking for a conversation and honest feedback to improve on what they had made or were thinking of making, all they saw were whining babies screaming at them. So, we need to remember that screaming at the top of our lungs and demanding things won't make anyone want to include us and ensure accessibility. We should reserve the option of a lawsuit for when it's actually needed. Not now, since everything, when it comes to AI, is still new, regardless of how far we've come. I enjoy the rants and arguments. It is funny, and I love the show. Joker Alice, hoping the both of you had a nice weekend.
It was Joker Alice. I was right.
Laura was right. Thank you. I never
Laura
doubted you,
right.
Laura. I never would, by the way. Thank you, Joker Alice. Okay, what was that conversation regarding specifically? Because we've had a few rants when it comes to people ranting about accessibility and the way to approach that, right?
Yeah, we have. And I think we've talked about it a lot. I will say on the more recent dollop on our Double Tap exclusive
It's
feed.
not called that.
Subscribe now at doubletaponio.com/subscribe. And then you'll get access to the newsletter and you get access to the thing and then you'll get a link and then you I mean, we've made it very complicated. I don't know who's in charge of this. Anyway, it's oh, right. Oh, yeah. I think I made a mess of it. But anyway, it's fine. You'll figure it out. Lots of people have done it. And I know lots of you are checking out the exclusive feed, which drops every week. We didn't have one last week, of course, because we were away. But we are going to have one for you this coming week. But, you know, it's interesting because we had a really good chat with our good friend Garth, who was on with us last time. And we were talking on the subject of guide dogs. And the subject came up about Uber and refusals. And you were rightly, you know, saying we should demand better and we should demand better and we should, you know, make sure that we make our feelings known on this. If an Uber driver decides to say you can't get in the car with a guide dog, then that's a disgrace. It should be dealt with, all that stuff. And I agree 100%. But Garth's viewpoint was, well, look, there's a system in place in Australia, and it may well be the case elsewhere, I don't know, but there's a system in place in Australia where, you know, they can they can essentially report the driver for doing this. And then, you know, that process starts and can actually end up in the driver or the company or whoever being fined or dealt with, and possibly even that driver being chucked off that route or being able to be an Uber driver. Yeah. And I think, you know, what we were kind of getting to in that was, I say this a lot about our reactions to things as individuals. Mm-hmm. We can get annoyed about everything all the time, right? We can always get riled up and we can always get annoyed, or we can choose not to. And if there's a system in place that allows you to have your say and get a result without having to, you know, lose it or cause ourselves stress and hassle, because that's who, frankly, we're affecting, I would go down that road. You know, so I think it's a two-way. I think that there are times we do need to stand up and shout, and there's times we do need to stand up and defend ourselves. We need to defend our rights. And when we talk about guide dog refusals, that's a good example of it. You know, web accessibility is another. But I think you got to start with a conversation. And, you know, I've been in situations where people have been refused guide dog. And you know, immediately I've seen the videos of people who go in like a coiled spring, just ready. Because they've faced it so many times. They've gone through it so many times. So they're just wound up ready for it. And someone says, no, you can't come in here with a guide dog. And suddenly, boom, they're off. Yeah. And suddenly it's, this is not good enough, and do you know my rights, and do you know section this of the law? And of course the answer is they don't know any of that stuff. Because if they did, they wouldn't refuse you. Yeah. So you got to start with a conversation. Yeah, but whether they should or not, they don't, right? How many times have I said on this show, assumption is the worst thing you can have. Mm-hmm. We hate assumptions about us. So why do we assume that everyone else knows everything about about us?
Because they should be trained. They absolutely know the laws on this. I'm sorry. They just think that we don't. I do not believe in this day and age that people don't know that service animals are allowed pretty much anywhere. I simply do not believe it. I believe it's a personal choice that they're making that, this guy won't know, I'm not doing it.
No, I don't think that's the case. I think people just don't know. There are people out there who do not know. I think there undoubtedly will be people who might be saying, I just don't want a dog in my restaurant. I know the rules, but I still don't want a dog in the restaurant.
You know, like, okay, Google it. Find out. I agree with you, right? You don't just go straight off the bat expecting the refusal and go from 0 to 100 and start swearing and shouting and stamping your feet. But in almost all the videos that I see, that conversation is there. Sorry, mate, I can't take the dog. Well, actually, you need to take the dog. I haven't seen many videos or any videos where someone is being really unreasonable right off the bat. They will always try to start that conversation. And you can tell straight away if the other person, the taxi driver, the restaurant owner, is not interested. You can always tell. And at that point, go for your life.
You see, I mean, the way I look at it is Uber always comes up as an example of this, right? It tends to be the kind of generic response I always see is Uber refusals. Now, I must be in a very unique position because I can't use Uber where I live. I don't have an Uber option where I live.
Yep.
So I use local taxis. And it was interesting, actually. I heard recently that the head of the person who's in charge of the company had actually put an email out to every driver restating the fact that you cannot refuse guide dogs. Can't do it. Now, that's great.
Are we still talking about the local taxi firm with you? Or are we talking Uber? Okay, yeah.
No, so
okay.
Uber, I don't have Uber, so I can't use that.
You can't, yeah.
But when it comes to the local company, the taxi owner, in this case, the company owner, had said, look, you cannot refuse guide dogs. Now, whether or not that was because of an incident, I don't know. But the email had come out. Yeah, it must have been, right? Mm-hmm. And that will happen. But again, I feel comfortable knowing that when I contact that company, the head of that company is making it clear. In fact, when I call up, I'm told, well, our drivers can't refuse you. You know, so I feel there's a support mechanism in that. You. Now, what I mean by that is I'm therefore only going to use that company because I know they're behind me on it. I can trust that they are behind me.
The person operating the switch is behind you. The person behind the microphone, the person behind the radio, the person at the top is even behind you. But if the drivers themselves say, no, I'm not taking that dog, then it's pointless.
So, so what do I do in that situation? Do I start screaming and shouting?
Yes, you do.
But how does that solve anything? Because here's the thing, right? I still need to get to where I'm going. So my take is, okay, fine, bye-bye, go away now.
Mm-hmm.
It's logged on the app, it's logged on my account, who has come out, so no one can hide which car turned up. So all I do then is I contact the company and say, this guy's not taking me, you need to send me a new car, and I want this guy dealt with.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, look, it's the same as going to a restaurant. You can get annoyed about it and say, well, do you know what? Is this the only restaurant in town? In which case, I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
They're
quite happy because they don't have you in their restaurant.
But
if they don't want me, I don't want to be there. I know that argument, but that's not the point. I'm sorry.
But I get it. But I also think, but we have a reaction here. We have agency. We are not victims.
Yes, we do. And it makes me feel better to make my point loud and sometimes crudely. Absolutely. You know what? It's frustrating. It's annoying. Let that out if you want to. I'm not saying it's the best way to handle the situation right at the beginning. You always want to have that conversation if you can. Hey, look, it's a guide dog. It's going to be fine. You know, law and blah, blah, blah. All fine. But if you get to that point where it's just, no, sorry, no dogs. I'm sorry. Let yourself vent. Let them have it.
I think there's ways, and look, as I say, we only have our reactions in life. That's my view, right? We only have, that's what we've got. We have full control over how we react to something. Now, you can choose, and this is the bit that I'm kind of getting to here, because we're talking really about web accessibility in this particular occasion.
Sorry.
We're not really talking about guide dogs, but I'm using it as an example because it's kind of similar in the way of how do we respond. Now, of course, if you're talking about a huge issue with an app or a company or whatever, then that's a very different thing, right? I guess you have to, you have to make inroads. You have to start a conversation. You got to, contact the developer. I've personally found if I've contacted a company of usually a number of small developers, I'll get a very positive response. On average, I'll also still get the response that says, oh yeah, accessibility is something we're thinking about adding as a feature in the future. And you're like,
yes.
Okay, maybe we need to have a bit of a chat here. And usually, if I can be bothered, and it's down to me, again, it's a choice to say, okay, I'm going to give you some time for free. I'll just talk to you. And I'll see if I can get you round to this way of thinking. Even if I can get you on the track.
I totally agree with you.
Again, it's a choice. And we can't all be advocates. I think sometimes the strongest voices out there are often people who kind of demand that we're just all ready to be advocates. And I'm not. I remember sitting in that guide dog school when I was 19. And the guide dog instructor said, when you have a guide dog owner, or when you have a guide dog, you are a guide dog owner. When you have a guide dog, You are an ambassador for blind people. And I put my hand up at 19 and said, no, I'm not. I'm not an ambassador for anyone. I'm an ambassador for me. I'm an ambassador for Stephen Scott. That's it. No one else.
Still ranting.
Yeah, I was ranting at the time, I must admit. But I was annoyed at that because I thought, don't put me in this position.
Well, have a conversation.
Where suddenly we're all responsible for each other. Look, we are all responsible for each other in many, many ways, right? I get that. And there are many, many things. Like in the UK at the minute, if anyone outside the UK has been following the story on the government's attempts to slash welfare, that's one area that we pretty much all come together on, right? There's very few people. I'm not going to sit here and say there's no one true opinion necessarily on this. I think there is a true opinion on it, actually, which is please don't cut our welfare, because what on earth are you doing? Why are you tackling blind and disabled people in this way? And the way they were doing it was incredibly unfair. And, the laws have this rule, whatever it is passed, and it's just ridiculous. It's like a complete mess. The government have completely watered it down.
Yeah, they
try and get it through. And it was they rolled back on it, and it's a complete mess and an embarrassment. But the point is that disabled people on average, and again, not everybody, because I know there's a lot of people who might have an opposing view on this, but I think a lot of blind people out there especially were saying, please don't destroy this. We need to have a safety net. And of course, the biggest issue was they were basically putting this benefit, this particular benefit that we're talking about, up against people who were not in work. And the benefit has got nothing to do with being in work or not. It might be something we'll come back to in another. Maybe
it's a bit UK specific.
It's very UK specific.
We don't want to go into it too much, but
again, there are times we absolutely will fight together.
And the demonstrators outside Parliament, outside Number 10 Downing Street, more power to you.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And there's time when we do need to come together on things like that. But there are also times when I've faced personally, accusations of not being advocate enough on this topic or another. And I'm sorry, I just don't agree with you on this topic. That's okay too. Yeah, and that's what I promote on this show. I promote original and independent thought.
I say, let them have it. Thank you.
Okay, I don't know if that has anything to do with what you said, Joker, Alice, but I appreciate the email.
Thank you, Alex.
And I'm glad you're listening to us. Hope you enjoy the show. And thank you for sending us off on another rant. I like it. Okay, let's go to Darren.
Hi, guys. It's Darren from Bexley in Kent. Haven't been on for a while, but unfortunately for you guys, or maybe not as the case may be, I'm back.
Hey!
Just a brief one this time. Really enjoyed the articles on the AI and Ira and InnoSearch and Be My Eyes. I've used InnoSearch on the phone yesterday. That's Saturday. I think it's about the 25th, something like that, of May. And I did it over the phone. That's my preferred method of using. I never done internet shopping on my own independently, so I used the phone. And I ordered 200 flossing sticks with string. They got string on one end and a sharp end on the other for a toothpick. With taxes, £5.94 or thereabouts. If you go in a shop, you're lucky to get 75 for that amount of money. I ordered them on the Saturday night and they arrived on Sunday, probably Sunday evening, I would say. So I can't complain about that. Prompt service. Interestingly, the phone has a few quirks. It doesn't seem to have a record of the order at the moment as a history order, past order. But I dare say that'll be rectified. It's still early days, and you've got to be on the ball when entering your address. It's easier to text it, to be honest, because it gets my address wrong. But other than that, I found it quite a positive experience, and I'll certainly be using them again. In fact, I know I will be. It's only a matter of when. So I don't think I won't be looking back now. And it's all because of you guys, so thank you. If it wasn't for the double tap, I probably would never have done it. You used InnoSearch. Okay, I shall certainly be using them again. I hope InnoSearch hear this. I'm impressed. Yes, there's a few quirks, but I'm sure it'll get ironed out as the time goes on. And like Shaun, if they get fast food on there, I'm in. Because there's very few restaurants now that will allow me to do delivery orders for fast food takeaways over the phone.
Mm.
So as soon as, if it comes to InnoSearch, I'm in. This is Darren saying bye for now, and thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Darren. Appreciate that. And yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying InnoSearch. That's wonderful. Now, we did actually have a message from Darren. I think we've maybe played them in the wrong way round. We did actually play one recently from Darren, who was getting on rather well with InnoSearch. I think I'm not taking any responsibility for people spending money on InnoSearch, by the way. But if you are, have a great time and enjoy it. I mean, accessible shopping is where we want it to be. And it's, you know, it's funny because isn't it so hilarious that we kind of see people get really riled up when something's inaccessible and you go, oh, it's terrible, oh, accessible, bad, oh, bad. And then you get something that comes along like InnoSearch and it's kind of built for the task. And they go, oh, but it's too blind focused. Oh, other things should be accessible. It's like, well, what do you want?
We don't like to be happy. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I must say, I haven't heard any really bad experiences from people. It's all been fairly positive. And even with people like Darren was saying there, you know, but the order hasn't shown up in my account or whatever it was. And, you know, the address was, I had to text it. Even with those glitches, people are perfectly satisfied. And, you know, I will say, Darren, just report back to them. They are so open and receptive as well. So, yeah, good. I still haven't bought anything with InnoSearch yet.
I think that's part of the thing, though, right? Because they've got a good support network going. They're really making sure that they're getting back to people. They're listening to the feedback. And so I think if there are any issues, at least people feel that there's someone's actually listening to them. That's what we often feel is the issue. How many times do we hear this? I mean, Apple, classic example, right? I've emailed feedback at whatever it is, accessibility@apple.com or whatever.
Yeah.
And I never hear anything. And I think if you just even get a stock email, I don't know, maybe you do, but, you know, if you get an email back that says, okay, I get it. Or, oh, this is something we're going to add to the queue. That is just enough for people. I think the problem is, honestly, for Apple, it's just too many emails to get back to.
I think
I know how we struggle with our inbox. Goodness knows how they cope.
Well, yeah, but no, I don't agree. I do not want that automated response. Thank you so much for your feedback. You know, we will look into it or whatever. I don't want that. I want someone to. Oh, but I'm so sorry. I want someone to actually acknowledge that they've heard my problems and just, you know, refer to it. Even if it's saying we can't fix that yet or we can't replicate the problems, just acknowledge that you've actually read my email. Thank you. And that's not just Apple, by the way. That's all of you out there, you big tech companies. Sort yourselves out.
God, he gets to sit in first class once and that's it. Suddenly he's a different person.
When was that? Sorry, I must have missed that.
You probably didn't even know you were in first. I have to say that I remember going to get on a train. This was way back at the beginning of my kind of regular big journeys I used to do from Glasgow down to London, which is about a 4.5 hour train journey. And, or in British Rail, it's about 10 hours. And, little British rail joke there.
British Rail from the 1980s.
To get anywhere. But yeah, no, 4.5 hour journey, right? And it's a nice journey to do. And I remember once going into first class. I had no idea I was in first class. I only learned I was in first class because I swiped my bag across the table and took out like all the cups and the cutlery and the glasses that were there for wine. I don't think they even do that anymore. But you had all the stuff laid out for dinner. And there I had swiped and broke the law.
Were you on the Orient Express? What do you mean the set
yes,
out for dinner? The champagne bucket and not that asunder. Wow. I know because when they come round and say, would you like a packet of crisp or chips? I say, yes, please. Hang on. And I go to get some money out and they say, no, it's free. So, I'm in first class. Say nothing.
So I was in hospital years ago for an operation.
First class, obviously.
Obviously. Good old NHS, National Health Service. God bless you, NHS. And there I was on my trolley, awaiting
in the corridor.
Corridor, yeah, awaiting someone. So I had the operation. I came around a couple of hours later. No idea what time of day it was or anything else. And the nurse comes over to me and she says, "Okay, how are you feeling?" I said, "Okay." She said, "Would you like a cup of tea and a sandwich?" And I said, "Yeah, but I don't have any money." And she said, "What are you talking about?
They do feed you in hospital.
We're not going to charge you for the cup." And I'm like, "Really? Can I get two? How can I milk this, right?" I didn't know you get free food. I had no idea that was a thing.
What did you think you had to order in when you're in hospital?
Yes.
Do you? Mind you, they do charge you for the TV, by the way.
That's ridiculous.
We can do anything. Do you know on that? Now you've got me on something else. when I hurt my leg, snapped my optic thigh nerve. When I snapped my tendon.
That's why you're blind.
In my
Snapped
leg.
the wrong nerve.
I spent all day and all night in the corridor on a trolley, and then they put this inflatable splint on and gave me a pair of crutches and said, right, there's no beds. You'll have to come back tomorrow. I said, what?
Wow.
I can't see. I've never used crutches before, and I can't walk. So do you think this is a good idea? I said, you'll be fine.
The British blitz spirit there. Yeah, you'll be fine. Keep calm and hodl on.
Part of me wants to say, well, I can do anything. The other half wants to say,
straight down a flight of stairs.
Please look after me. The doctor saved me. He said he can't go home. Anyway, sorry. Carry on.
It's so funny, isn't it? And then I had that thing in the hospital with the person saying to me, do you have stairs in your house? But last time I checked, yes. It floors me sometimes how people work. Right, look, we'll take a short break. We'll come back and have more of, this, basically.
Get in touch with Double Tap. Email feedback@doubletaponair.com. Leave us a voicemail at 1-877-803-4567. And now you can send an audio or video message to us on WhatsApp. That number is 1-613-481-0144.
Right, let's get back into the email inbox here. And Jeanette is up next.
Hello, Stephen and Shaun. First of all, congratulations to yourselves, Mr. F, Laura, and the rest of the Double Tap team for your 1000th episode.
Yay!
Well done. Now to Stephen's radio gripes. I downloaded the Wireless for the Blind speech radio app several months ago, but decided to give it a try only this morning. Yes, you do have to create an account, but these days, when don't you? Once I had logged in, I found the app very easy to navigate. You can use it with your voice or screen gestures, but personally, I prefer to stick with VoiceOver. So for me, it is definitely a good alternative. In addition, speech radio doesn't cost us anything. Another option for listening to the radio is the Victor Reader Stream. This does have some radio stations in its own database, and so wouldn't require a login, though it will need a stable internet connection. The Blind Shell has an FM radio player, as well as internet radio, though you would need to plug in headphones to listen to this. Financially, it wouldn't be worth buying either device simply to listen to the radio. I know there are other solutions, but these are the ones that I have first-hand experience of. In conclusion, compared to many people in other parts of the world, I would say that, in this respect, we do pretty well. Bye for now, and keep up the good work. One last thing. I miss Shaun of the Shed. Jeanette in Coventry.
Oh.
Shh, don't mention.
That was a great show. Where was that gone?
Inaccessible radio, Stephen Scott. Isn't it a disgrace? Cue rant.
I've done the rant. Go check it out at doubletaponair.com.
So the Wireless for the Blind speech app, which was absolutely correct, Jeanette, it was absolutely fantastic, is
dead.
Yeah, no more.
Well, dying.
It is an X app. It is pushing up daisies. Yeah, it's gone.
On the Monty Python episode.
Yes.
This is an X app.
Sadly, it's gone. It's no longer supported. Although the talking newspaper skill apparently has been taken over by someone else, so that will carry on.
Yeah. Surprisingly, no one took on the speech radio app, right? You think someone would have kept that going.
I kind of think there's a lot of options out there. Now, of course, when it comes to accessible options, but there's still options out there. And the smart speakers just, they've just taken over from the portable radio, haven't they?
Yeah, well, they do. I mean, every single time. Although I will say there's one annoyance now I find. I don't know if you've noticed this, but sometimes when you try and open a radio station, it'll ask you, they don't all do this, but I do find some that will ask you to link a skill via a smartphone, which is a kind of annoying thing you have to do now. So you got to sign up for an account. And then you got to,
what I find is that
you've broken your optic nerve again.
There are lots of radio stations that have their own skills. So if you say something like open, I don't know, double tap radio, it doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. Shh, don't say that.
But if you say that and there was a skill, then it would try and open the skill. So some of them you need to say, actually add either the word radio to the end or say on TuneIn or whatever, iHeartRadio, whatever's local to you. And it won't do that. But a lot of them have their own skills and try to open that by default. So be careful of that. I will say as well, for the iPhone at least, I use the Receiver app. incredibly accessible. I haven't found any issues so far. I'm not sure it's... it may be a paid app, but it's very, very cheap. Of course, I've got it. It may even be free. I can't remember now. But Receiver is very good, very accessible. Does podcasts, does internet streams, and things.
There's one I remember called Broadcast. Am I right in saying that? I think there was one called Broadcast.
That's what I mean. There are a few out there. Of course, it always comes down to, well, in my case, screen reader accessibility for me. And yeah.
Now, look, if you've got the speech radio app at the moment, it probably will still be functioning, but there will be a period where it will stop functioning. It may even be removed. I don't know how that works. How does that work if an app is removed from the store? Because if you've got it on your phone, doesn't it just stay there?
Yes, it should do until you do, an update or transfer to a new phone or whatever else. So,
or it may
should
just get
stay
to a
there,
point where it just won't work anymore.
but it may just get turned off anyway and not function, even if you have it.
Right. So, the links and whatever in there might not work.
Yeah, it depends how they're... Yeah. I
This is the
expect that's
problem,
case.
right? This is the issue sometimes. You get used to these things and then suddenly it's, oh, this is great, it's the best thing ever, and then, no, it's gone. Back to square one. So, yeah, that's the kind of that's a shame, and it really is annoying that that's gone, Jeanette. But, might be time to look for another app, because you will be using, I'd imagine, speech radio today, but you'll probably need to find something else.
It's so true, though. Your rant, just going back to your rant about how inaccessible radios, just listening to the radio and what a chore it's become. Much like, trying to stream TV, you got to sign into 1,000 different services to watch what you want to watch. We still don't have just, affordable, portable radio that's accessible. And I guess I'm asking, is it even possible? And when we say accessible, are we just talking about, I want this station to speak? You tune in. Why, though? What's wrong with the old-fashioned dial and buttons?
Well, you don't have it. You don't have that anymore, right? Because it's all... Are you talking about
digital.
FM radio? Because there's very...
Yeah, I am talking about FM radio.
There's a big discussion about this, right? Because, of course, the world is in a bit of peril at the moment. And, one of the things that came up was actually, I think it was after the whole power outage in Portugal and Spain. There was a big power outage, and there was a big, big debate around... what was the first thing that happened? Well, aside everyone obviously trying to loot, and I'm only kidding, no one was looting. But, I wouldn't be looting, that's for sure. I'd be like, do you know what, forget it. I'll just die. I couldn't be bothered. I mean, how inaccessible is looting?
Death again. This is ridiculous. What? Should we start a campaign? Make looting
accessible looting.
Stop it.
Can't be joining in. That's terrible.
Yes, during the big blackout, on the peninsula, yes.
One thing that happened was a huge rise in the sale of FM radios. Yeah. People wanted to get access to information. And they said it was so weird. All these people who were staring at their phones, realizing they couldn't do anything with them because the power was out, the cell towers were out, so they couldn't use their phones for anything, even if it had charge. It wasn't giving you access to any information. There's no data. Yep. And so people were buying these little radios, walking down the street, holding them up to their ear. And that was kind of taking you right back about 20, 30 years, right? To a thing that we used to do quite a lot. We always did. I mean, how many people remember all the movies we used to watch growing up? People sitting at the side of the road if they were listening to the sport, or the guy that would be selling the newspapers would be listening to the radio. All that stuff. That's all kind of gone. And the part of the problem is that there are fewer and fewer radio stations that are out there. They're switching off and going digital.
And a lot of the frequencies are being sold off as well. So
that's right. AM radios kind of no more, really. I mean, it kind of feels like there's an opportunity for these kind of services. But the problem is you only need them at the worst case scenario.
Double tap medium wave. Let's make that happen.
Well, is this it? Are you relying on us? End of the world radio? Is that what you're expecting?
Well, arguably,
EOTW?
Satellite internet is going to sort of replace that. It's always going to be there, but you're still going to need something on the ground to process all that. And then,
unless there's an alien invasion like an Independence Day when it broke all the satellites.
Yeah, good point. I didn't think of that, Stephen Scott. Back to the scientific facts there. Well done. Thank you, Stephen. Wow.
I like to bring up the possibilities. Never know. Right, let's move on to Carl.
Hi, it's Carl from Leeds in the UK, Garden City of the North. Oh. So I just wanted to make a few comments on the piece you've just recently done on diabetes and management and looking after your blood glucose levels, especially with the CGM systems. Background, I've been type 1 diabetic since 1979, and totally blind for the last 20 years. So I've seen loads of changes with monitoring your blood glucose levels from the old days of what seemed like a chemistry set, and all the way up to blood monitoring machines, talking machines, and all the way to the end point now, which is what we've currently got, which is the CGM system. So I use the Libre system, and just for full disclosure, I have actually consulted with Abbott, the makers of the Libre system, around their accessibility, not of their app, but of the actual physical device itself. So a couple of points. One on the testing with your machine, your talking machine. So a thing that I found really, really useful, other people might find useful, because there's no way of doing this without ending up a bit of a mess. Sometimes you are finger pricking and trying to squeeze your finger to get a certain amount of blood out, and it can go everywhere. I've got plenty of stories of spraying blood in all kinds of directions, but this is a family show, so we'll leave that one to one side. The hard part is really about getting the blood onto the strip. Some machines have you drop the blood onto the strip, and some machines have you actually dip the strip into the blood. One useful tip is that if you move the strip across your finger towards where you think the blood is, where you think the blood is, try and move it so that the edge cuts through into the blood, the little bubble of blood that you hopefully have got nicely placed on the end of your finger. If you keep it so the flat side of the strip goes towards the blood bubble, you'll just basically move it around and get nowhere. So you need to make sure the edge of the strip cuts into where you think the blood is. That can improve your chances of getting a good result. But to be honest, I've tried every which way, and it can be a bit of a mess. So you know, good luck with that. On to the Libre. So it was mentioned that when you're using VoiceOver on the Libre app, that you don't get a sense of the direction of your blood glucose results. And that's true. VoiceOver only reads, I think, one of the directions. Obviously, the graphic there is only read by one of the directions is read by VoiceOver in a way that you can understand, that it's a consistent trend. And it's really important that you know which direction your blood glucose is going. So having a blood glucose of 5.5 is great, but knowing whether it's shooting up or dropping down or flatlining is really important. But there is a self-voicing mode on the Libre system. So if you switch that on, it'll be in the menu, and then you double tap on the blood glucose level. It will actually speak out in your favorite voice. Mine's Daniel. Less said about the better.
Yes.
I will speak it out, and it will actually speak the trend. So that's one way of actually getting the trend, that information that doesn't require voiceover. The other thing I'd say is that one of the great things about the Libre for sighted people is, of course, you've got a graph of your levels over time, and that graph is inaccessible to us. I did talk, must be a couple of years ago now, to the app people about making that graph into an audio graph, but I'm not sure anything's come of that so far. But I've tried everything with this graph. I've used AI to upload it and to query it, but there's always a sense that this is important information, and sometimes all it takes is for you to get one conversation going on with AI which makes no sense to really put you off. But I did find that another app that I've connected to my Libre app, so stay with me guys, it gets complicated, called Sweet Dreams, has a section on it where you can set the time frame for a graph, and it does have an audio graph for that. So that's great, because if you're getting up in the morning, you can set the time frame for the last 8 hours, play the audio graph, and get an idea of what's happened to your blood glucose levels overnight, which can be really useful, because lots of things happen overnight when you're not really aware of it, and you can have high blood glucose levels, low blood glucose levels, and they have early morning effects which can make a difference to the rest of the day, and it can be really frustrating when you're not really sure what happened. So I would advise definitely getting a hold of the Sweet Dreams app. So this is iOS, not 100% sure where we are with Android for this, and this is the Libre system. I find that gives me a great amount of knowledge overnight, especially if something goes wrong. You can start to see, maybe get an idea of what went wrong. So there's a few tips, and I hope everybody's doing great, and good luck with it all. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate all that. Now, I know you've probably got a comment on this, Shaun, but I'm going to quickly play in this one from Mandy, also talking about the Libre 2.
I do enjoy your podcast. Often it makes me laugh. Sometimes it exasperates me, but I want to talk about the glucose monitor. Your interview with the mother of the little girl diagnosed with diabetes at the age of 4 was very interesting, and it must have been so tough for her. I am totally blind and, like Shaun, have diabetes type 2. I started with a talking monitor supplied by my surgery. Getting the blood onto the strip so that the machine would say, now testing, then read out my figure was frustrating and meant wasting strip after strip and pricking my finger too many times. I have now been given the Libre 2, which, although slightly less accurate than the machine, is so much better. Like you, Shaun, it is not essential for me to have totally accurate reading, but it is good to have it. Doesn't hurt the arm at all, and the app is easy to use. I would encourage you, Shaun, as I have some friends of mine who are blind diabetics, one type 2 and one type 1, to request the Libre be given. There is also Libre Plus, which lasts for 15 days instead of 14 and is said to be more accurate. I do not have this one yet. I hope this helps. Sorry, I do not know how to spell Shaun's name, as there are several ways. Mandy.
Thank you very much, Mandy. S-H-A-U-N, the only proper way to spell Shaun. Thank you so much. It's interesting. The Libre does honestly seem to be the best option when we're talking about accessible ways to take your blood levels. It's I don't really see another way. Just getting that blood onto the strip seems so difficult for people. And you know what? It frustrates me. Sort of leads into our previous conversations. But it's so frustrating talking to medical professionals and saying, well, obviously I need an accessible way to do it. And they just, there's no answer from them. A lot of the time. Now, of course, that's not across the board. As Mandy mentioned there, she was told about hers and given hers from her medical professional. But most of the time, they just, no answers, stare at you blankly. I just don't think it's good enough. This stuff is so important, especially if you're type 1. So, I've got to say as well, Carl, I know Carl's message was quite a long one, but I thought it was so important, so great information in there. So thank you so much, both of you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we don't mind having long messages. That's not an issue.
No.
We only have so much time to play everyone's messages in. We try and get through as many as we can. And sometimes some of you will be sending in very long messages. We do have to sometimes cut them down for time. But, in situations like this, there's a lot of information there, and it's really worthwhile getting that information and opinion out, because people need to know. This is important stuff. And this is stuff that you're not probably going to get anywhere else, right? Because no one else is able to give you this information. And I'd much rather hear from people using this technology to actually understand how they use it, how it really works. I remember when we used to get the messages from CC in Montreal. He used to tell us updates on, the latest update to the app, and it meant that the whole thing was now inaccessible.
That's
Remember
right.
Back those days?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about shared experiences, right? There's no better information out there. We all learn.
Let's go to Rebecca. She's got a comment on the Amazon Fire tablet.
More thoughts on the Amazon Fire tablet. I've also encountered the speech echo issue you mentioned in the very last episode, but I've also noticed that voice view volume is lower when I start the device. Once the device starts, the volume gets louder again. If possible, I recommend using a Braille or Bluetooth keyboard. I am using an Orbit reader with the Amazon Kindle, and it makes navigation much easier.
Yeah, that's good. Good to hear. Hang
on,
speech
I'm
thing.
confused. Kindle or Fire?
I know. We call it, well, I don't know, actually. I get mixed up between the two, to be perfectly honest. There's Kindle.
They're different products.
But there's a Fire tablet as well, which I think you're probably talking about here, rather than the Kindle. Can you use a Braille display with a Kindle, actually? That's a good question. I don't know.
The Kindle's been around for years. I mean, I haven't really tried one ever, so I don't know.
Well, the challenge for me was getting accessibility to work, because you needed sighted help to get accessibility to work. You had to hook up a pair of Bluetooth headphones, and that would automatically set off the screen reader for working.
Yeah. Not great.
You needed help to do that. It was very strange. Anyway, a couple of emails to come before we go. Let's talk to Graham about email notifications.
Hi guys, I had a similar problem to what Shaun is having with his email, and I found it was caused by an earlier update to iOS that created this problem. And so this is perhaps one of the steps he needs to take.
Oh.
Go into notifications, tap on mail, go down to the very bottom and tap on customize notifications and double tap on it. When that opens up, go down until it gets to accounts. Flick left to right so that you are on iCloud. iCloud should say alerts, sounds and badges. If not, that is the issue. Once that has been set by double tapping on it and setting alerts and badges to on, the sound should be the same as you set in sound notifications. Since doing this, I've had no problem with mail. Any problems doing this? You can send me an email. Graham Langford in Toronto, Canada.
Thank you, Graham. I will test that out. I don't have an iCloud email account. I've never set that up. Isn't that strange? But I will go in there and check that out. Thank you so much. Isn't it about time we sorted these notifications out? They're all over the place.
Oh, they are. I mean, I've been getting, it's been a mess the past couple of days. You know, a Ring doorbell has given me notifications one day, then not the next. I get 0 notifications on certain apps some days, not others. And it's not like anything's changing. I'm not changing focus modes.
That's the first thing you check, isn't it? The focus mode. Am I on Do Not Disturb? No. But then which notification setting is it? Is it in accessibility somewhere, or is it here, or is it there? Is it verbose? Just put it in one place and make it work. Thank you.
Dave also comments on this.
I have an answer to the question Mark from Montreal posed regarding notification sounds for email alerts on iOS. I had the same problem as Mark and spent hours trying to solve it. Eventually, my wife and I went to the Apple Store. We were in and out within 2 minutes. We were told that sounds to alert for incoming email messages do not get issued for Gmail email addresses. If, however, you download the Gmail app, you can enable sound notifications. Since all my email addresses are Gmail, I now no longer use Apple's email app at all. When selecting notification sounds for the Gmail app, you don't have nearly as many choices as you do with the Apple email app. I don't know whether this issue applies to email addresses other than Gmail. Thanks to everyone who responded to my question re GPS apps that allow for breadcrumb dropping. I did end up purchasing the Stellar Trek. One thing the Trek can do, which I don't think has been mentioned on Double Tap, is that while recording a route, you can record landmarks at the same time. The limited options out there that do allow for recording routes as you walk them don't allow you to also, at the same time, record your own landmarks or points of interest like the Trek does. I do find that with the Trek, I have to give it about 5 minutes before it gets a really good GPS signal. I actually bought a Stellar Trek a couple of years ago and then sold it because I was at that time having a lot of difficulty acquiring a strong enough signal. Keep up the good work. Dave from Elmira.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Stellar Trek review is coming, by the way. I was out the other day with it, actually. We were doing some testing with it. And it's interesting, one thing that HumanWare suggested I do, because I was having a lot of issues getting signal coverage, GPS signal coverage, because that's the only way it does get a signal. It's not connected to the internet or anything. I was having issues, and they suggested I calibrate the compass, and there's a whole process you go through for that before you go out. So a couple of things you've got to do.
Figure of 8?
Yeah, kind of thing. Yeah,
I used to have to do that on the iPhone back in the day.
Yeah. So you got to do all that, and and there's a process you go through. It talks you through it on the system. So I'll be going back out doing more testing because I want to make sure that all that kind of stuff's working, right? Because that's the stuff that you don't want to get in the way of the.
Getting a signal is very important. So yes,
it kind of is important in the process, right? So there's no point in me saying, "Oh, I can't get a signal. This thing's terrible," and then realize user error. As
didn't read the manual error. Yeah.
Okay, listen, we're almost out of time, so we've got so many more emails, but they're quite chunky, and I imagine a lot of chunky talk will come. Chunky talk. I like that. That should be the name of the dollop.
Well, it's more apt. Yes.
Wow.
Oh, dear.
Listen, as always, thank you for getting in touch. We love hearing from you, and we know we've got so many of your messages to get through. We are plowing through them, and lovely Laura is recording them as we go. So she will be giving us another dollop of emails.
She does a great job, Laura. We should acknowledge that more often. Thank you, Laura. You do amazing work.
I think what we should do for the exclusive at the end of the year, because we always like to kick back at the end of the year and chill out and look at the best bits.
Yes.
In our case, we'll just be here as normal because there's really no best bits to mention. No prime cuts really.
No.
But yeah, we should get together with Laura. We should get her on and we could do an exclusive with her. We could learn about Laura.
What? You can't do that. She's only AI. Shh. Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's make that happen. I'll script it.
You write it for her. Yeah, that'll be fun.
That's a really good idea. Let's do it.
We should do that. Yeah, we should do that. Maybe even meet Mr. F as well. How about that?
No, let's not go mad.
Actually, well, depends which day of the week, the time, how much whiskey's been consumed. Might keep it interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
Or the end of our life. I don't know. Anyway, thank you as always for all your emails. We love them, and we'll get back into them again on the next Double Tap. Shaun Priest, as always, thank you.
Thank you. God bless you, Mr. F.